of silence. I'm just.
All right, we are streaming on YouTube.
1 sec, it's not quite there yet.
No, a little announcement just came up. So.
Yeah, but all right.
Okay, well, welcome everyone. I'm glad to see all of you. There may be other people popping in and out. This is somewhat informal, but we thought as part of celebrating New Hampshire Gives this year, we would just invite some people that had been with the company in different ways to come back and talk about what you've been doing. And then I want to talk a little bit about, the whole COVID experience and being a creative person, and that even if you're not currently working in the arts, how did that work for you? But let's do some quick intros. I think everyone knows me. I'm the founder of Nhtp and I've been here for a long, long time. I'm hoping that in the next few years, I'll be stepping back into a smaller role, but at the moment, I'm still here. And I'm so happy to see all of you because you're from different parts of my life with Nhtp. CJ, you want to introduce yourself and then choose somebody?
Sure. My name's CJ Lewis. I'm currently the associate producer of media at New Hampshire Theater Project and have been for the last year or so. And for about 10 or 11 years before that, I've been a resident artist and teaching artist and done pretty much everything you can do in that little room in there, from acting, directing, producing, designing, composing. Yeah, that's me. How about Monique?
Hi there. My name is Monique Foote, and I'm a company artist with New Hampshire Theater Project, and I've been with the company since 2009.
Really?
Yeah, it's crazy, and I've loved every second of it.
Liz Estrada, that was probably right. That's where, me too. That was my first thing too.
That was a weird entry. It was a good one. Yeah, so I'll choose Hannah.
This Estrada was actually one of the last shows that I was involved in. I helped out with costumes for that. I'm Hannah. I was involved in the youth repertory company for probably like 10 years. I started when we were in a yoga studio. I think it was carpeted before I even had the West End space. And when we performed at my elementary school, a Little Harbor School. So yeah, I was involved acting in youth rep and also interned and got to help out on the professional productions before I went off to college. And I now work and live in Cambridge, Massachusetts. I work in Lawrence as a dean of curriculum for English language learners for a couple of schools.
Hannah's always been a fabulous teacher, even when she was young. And I think that the things I remember most is when you choreographed the primary, which was the most ridiculous and fun show, and how you got all of us non-dancers to look good was amazing. And the other thing is was when you did Gertrude in Hamlet, which is still one of my favorite NHTP shows. Yeah, yeah. So why don't you choose someone, Hannah?
I'll pass it to Matt.
Oh yeah, no, I'm not going to be a great follow-up to Hannah. I do apologize in advance. I'm going to be a little bit boring in comparison. So I'm Matt. I was involved in HTP for about 1 year, 2007, 2008. I was in the Mother Courage show. I also did, I want to say 2009, 2010. It was a collection of plays from local playwrights. I was in 2 of those. There was the Execution one, and then there was the one with Vincent van Gogh, where I was a German plumber.
That was the Intelligent Theater Festival. I'd completely forgotten about that.
I remembered something you forgot. Wow. This is interesting already. I am currently working at Atlantic Broadband. Please do not try and contact me to help you with your internet because I am working in tech support. Please call into the main queue for that. I cannot stress that enough because that actually happens. Yes, but I'm currently working for them as tech support, working out of my apartment in Dover. So yeah, I haven't really moved too much on from there. That's kind of all about me. I'm gonna pass off Josh at this point.
All right.
Hello, I'm Josh Goldberg. I'm a Nhtp resident artist and youth rep alumni coordinator. I joined the youth rep program, I think in 2012. Two Gentlemen of Verona was my first show with Nhtp. And I've worked in a variety of capacities. I did an internship a couple years ago, kind of in a more administrative side, co-wrote a musical that was performed there. Yeah, a bunch of things. And I'll pass it to Dan.
You got to unmute, Dan.
Yeah, Dan, you got to
That's
unmute yourself.
two out of three. I'm Dan, and I'm not a performer. I am an image maker and have been stalking members of various casts for how long? I don't actually know, Genevieve. Maybe 5 years, 6 years?
Yeah,
It
a while.
seems like it. And so I often will, I'm doing a personal project called Backstage Backstory. And so I photograph the theater project shows, but strictly as rehearsals. And they get the pictures to use as they wish. If CJ will turn on screen sharing for me, I'll actually show you one. But the last, is it on?
Dan's
Hold on, yeah, let
photos
me
are just incredible.
give you.
It's
I don't know if I can do screen from here.
Oh, I have two things going here.
I didn't mean to
For
slow the
everyone
work
else,
down.
Dan he comes into rehearsals and really documents the process of creating theater. And this particular year, because, we weren't really doing much theater, but we had 3 solo shows that were created from scratch. So he spent a long time with the 3 solo artists. Yeah, so tell us about this, Dan. This is amazing photos.
This is one of the 3 shows that I photographed. And this is Peter on Tempest Prayer, and he was an amazing person to photograph. He spent the first 3 rehearsals by himself, not saying anything, and I photographed him not saying anything for, I don't know, a total of 6 or 10 hours, and we got some wonderful, wonderful shots out of it. I don't know if you can see this one. Can you?
Yeah.
Okay, yes.
Yeah, okay. Wrong one. And we tried some movement shots, but in any case, I did that sort of work with both Gemma and Steph and Peter for the solo series. It's really wonderful to be able to do something so safe feeling and so original as all of those 3. So that's what I've been up to. See if I can turn it off now.
Yeah, I have to say, as somebody who photographed the moving images of Peter for that show, he makes it really easy for you.
He's
so
scary.
easy to look at. Yeah.
Yeah, for those of you who didn't see it, this was well, it's going to be on demand the last weekend in June. You can watch it again, but it was Peter's one-man version of The Tempest. He's quite an amazing actor. So I think you just have to stop share, Dan.
So don't. Oh, here we go.
Oh,
That do it?
No, I'm still seeing it. It should be the same area where you press to share it. It should have a red icon. There we go.
All
you got
right.
it. You got it. So what I thought would be interesting, I have a couple of questions, and because we're all kind of from different places, I wanted to ask those of us who are working in the arts professionally or academically, and even, like CJ and Monique, I know what, you've been doing with NHTP, but what have you personally been doing during COVID artistically? And then I have another question for the alumni, if they would be willing to answer that, and maybe for all of us, but what are some of the things that, I don't even want to say learned, but the experiences that you had at New Hampshire Theater Project that you carry with you all the time? And actually, maybe let's just start with that, because that's really a question for all of us. And I can say that too. If anybody wants to share. So, we're an interesting company. We call ourselves an applied theater company, and we've had a lot of different iterations over the years. But always with that sense of collaboration, of working together on the craft, of striving towards excellence, but also that theater is something more. It can be entertaining and wonderful, but it can be more than that. There's a really a deep kind of spiritual component to it, community building component, and some of the things we've done are very overt, like the Elephant in the Room program. But some of them aren't. I remember, Mother Courage and her children, which, Hannah, you and Matt were both in that piece. And remember that we had a guest lecturer in, I think it was Gabe and Marcella's mother or father. I can't remember, one of them, because they both taught at UNH. And we talked about how theater was used, particularly in Latin America, for very, very political reasons. And of course, when Brecht was writing, and that piece was also very political. And I was very moved by that personally, about the power of theater, just from that experience. So I don't know, Hannah, you want to share something? I know you've talked about it, of course, before, because when you were teaching in particular.
Yeah, the obvious connection in terms of, the work that we did as actors comes through in my teaching. When I first started teaching, my principal, who I didn't know, walked in and was like, "You've done theater." And I was like, "Yes, I have." But he knew instantly because of just the way that I was conducting my class. And I think it is the reason that I'm interested in the profession, because I'm not teaching anymore, but when I was like getting an 8th grade boy to be on the edge of his seat from a book that I was reading or a story that I was telling by manipulating my energy and voice. And it just is so powerful. And I loved that. I think another part of NHGP that I was talking about recently was for me, like the community building aspect was really, really important. I feel like I lived at NHGP. Like I stayed after and mopped the floors and cleaned the toilets. And I felt very much myself there, and comfortable and safe, but also in a place that I could take risks. And that's been unique. Other than my own home, I don't know if I've found that. I think in college, I went to a big school and I did theater, but it wasn't the same. It was like we used a black box theater and other companies were in and out. It wasn't sort of the same like ownership and sense of belonging. And it's definitely something that I miss, and a feeling that I strive for continually to find in adult life.
That's pretty wonderful, Hannah. And so you were part of, because that's right, you worked with us first when we had that space over on the Malthouse Exchange. And so you experienced the move where we literally built a theater around us. We were having classes on carpet squares in the middle of a construction zone, right?
Yeah.
So you helped, really build that space. That's pretty wonderful. How about you, Matt? What experiences did you take into your?
You're absolutely putting me on the spot. Oh God. In terms of things that kind of just apply on a regular basis, because I'm not horrifically involved with art anymore or acting. I'm working technical support in a call center, so that's
a lot of acting.
Oh boy, it's a lot of acting. Oh boy. Anyways, one of the biggest things that I really took from NHTP really came out of, and I think it was called like the executions on the 4th of May or something. So the whole premise was I was to be executed, and I think it was Puneet was the one who was supposed to execute me. And the whole time I'm just going back and forth with him. And we had this thing of, oh, it's about morality, humanity. And then the writer comes in and just goes, no, you're just trying to get out of an execution and it actually works. Oh, so what we learned is it's very easy to place a meaning on something that isn't there. And it's very interesting what can come out of that. And when you kind of look at that and you look at just kind of everything going around, it makes a weird amount of sense because we were just looking so in depth in this thing. But no, I was just someone who was trying to get out of dying, and it worked. So there's a lot of weird things you can take out of performing arts and things like that that can apply to just about any profession, whether it's to put up with an obnoxious coworker or to understand maybe I should just look at this pretty service level. It's pretty useful stuff.
That's so interesting because I think that what you're describing is the process, which is what we love at NHTP. It's like the end product isn't as important sometimes as the process, which is what you've been documenting, Dan, for all these years. Could you speak a little bit about that, Dan? Because you've been observing it. I mean, that was your goal with the.
Yeah, actually, I started the project because I was curious about the theater. I have a high-tech background, in spite of the fact I can't operate this app.
Zoom's always magical anyways. So.
and so I wanted to watch it happen. And there were some things I learned. I don't know if I've been able to apply them, but one of the things I learned fairly early on is that there's a lot of negotiation and back and forth that goes on in developing a project live. I don't mean in writing it, I mean in creating it between the director and the actors and the rest of the team, but particularly between the directors and the actors. And it was fun for me to be able to be a fly on the wall, or what do we say, a ninja. Typically it took 10 minutes before the actors completely forgot I was there, and then I was free to capture the
more likely it took us 20 minutes to realize you were there.
Yeah. I learned not to make eye contact as a wedding photographer early on, which I did for a couple of years. So that was absolutely fascinating for me. And one of the things I noticed is that I actually didn't know what the script was about in most cases. Jen would call me or send me an email and I'd show up, and it would take forever for me to figure it out because I was really watching body language and how people moved and where the light was. If you're a photographer, you know those things are important. And so Constellations was particularly difficult to.
That was one of the first ones that you did, wasn't it?
It was actually the first one I did was the summer camp,
Right.
the acting camp, which I would love to get one or both of my teenage grandchildren involved with if it goes on. But anyway, yeah, that wasn't quite the same. It didn't have the back and forth. It was just a room full of energy and mischievousness, which is great fun to watch. But so anyway, that's my memories of it, and continue on. I have yet to figure out Tempest, and I went back and read it, and I couldn't. There were so many characters that Peter was able to change into continuously throughout the whole play that I never knew where it was or how it was, but I did know how to. Some of the best photography I've ever done was during his rehearsals. So anyway.
And CJ, so you were in Constellations, which was an incredibly process-oriented production. Can you say a little bit about that? For those of you who don't know, it was basically, it's just two characters, CJ and Colleen Madden, and they kept reliving their life in a different way. It was kind of like a Groundhog Day with the twist every time.
Yeah, I know. One of the things I loved so much about that was, was not setting anything really, and having the freedom to just play and explore on a nightly basis. So just because it was open and people were paying to come see it, doesn't mean anything was ever done. It was always constantly, this is like a sculpture that was constantly being chiseled away at. So that's, I think, the biggest thing I remember about that. It's kind of like little bit like jazz, kind of play the song a little bit differently every night, and see what you can see together. So that's this is my favorite thing about that project for sure.
That's one of the joys of that small theater too.
Right.
The audience feels like they're part of that.
Right, and you have a different energy and a different vibe in the room every night, depending on who's there, how many people are there, what their vibe is like, and you can really hear it and respond to it and play with it.
Yeah. So I have so many things I want to ask each one of you, but Josh, I'm going to get to you in a minute because I want you to tell everybody about the project you just did. But Monique, you just finished. Sorry, she's like, what me? No, but you just finished. Well, the uncertainty principle that we've been working on, which is going online tomorrow. This was, so over the past year, CJ and I and a few other people, Catherine, have been doing interviews with people about their experiences during COVID. We didn't know what we were going to do with it. In fact, it was called We Don't Know What This Is Yet. And all kinds of things grew out of it, including this kind of docudrama, which we put on film. We're going to hopefully do it live. But you were part of that, the process of taking 30 interviews that were all just transcribed and forming that into a piece. Do you want to talk a little bit about that process, Monique?
Sure. Well, I have a couple of things I want to say. First of all, I as far as New Hampshire Theater Project, I just have to say, CJ, you got me thinking about, like, I don't think I've ever been so challenged as an actor in my life, and I've been doing this since I was 5 years old, which is really weird. But I knew when I was 5, I was like, well, this is what I'm going to do. And so, there's been these opportunities from Men on Boats to the rabbit piece, where, the white rabbit, red rabbit, where, Jen says, just show up. It's a one-person show, just show up. You're going to read the script, and sorry, that's all I can tell you about it. Oh, okay. Yeah, great. That'll be great. So anyway, which you mentioned earlier a little bit about COVID and what have you been doing as an artist and as an actor, and it was like, I don't know. I felt creatively like I had this pressure cooker that just like kept like shooting out steam out the side of creativity, but like didn't know how to channel it without going to the theater and doing rehearsals. And so, yeah, so I was interviewed for the uncertainty principle by Genevieve. I work at a senior living community in a year of COVID. So, wow, that was something. So lots of skills learned from the theater on just getting through that, wearing funny face masks and trying to articulate to elderly people, it was really something. So anyway, where am I now? So Jen says, hey, Monique, you wanna help edit some of these interviews from 30 different people? And I said, oh, sure, I'll do that. And I've never edited really anything in my life. So that was fun. And I got this opportunity to hang out with these, people that I've never met before, all sort of tangentially connected to New Hampshire Theater Project. And I just sat at my kitchen table reading their stories and just often weeping, sometimes laughing, and just completely blown away. And I felt like it was such an incredible gift. to hear their story. And I felt, in this time of isolation, I felt so connected to perfect strangers. So that was really strange and really wonderful. But Jen, I think the piece that we came up with we came up with, that you wrote, that you put together, is unbelievable. I mean, it just sort of took this crazy year and just, I don't know. It looks like this. This is what it looks like. So yeah.
Yeah, we had hundreds of little pieces of paper all over the theater and piled them into piles of different themes. And then we'd say, oh, we like this one. Well, that one's good, but we don't know. It was quite the process. So I did not write it. I adapted it. But
Yeah.
I feel like I put together a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, you did. You absolutely did.
Yeah. So welcome. I see Jess has joined us. Oh, it's so great to see you.
Yeah, it's nice to see everyone.
I know we're kind of a mixed group of alumni and different artists. Do you want to introduce yourself? And we're just, so you know, we are live on YouTube. So,
Oh, okay.
Not too much.
I see. So I'm Jess Marbacher, and I was in youth rep for, I don't know how many years, probably at least 10. And I was an intern for youth rep. And then after I graduated college, I worked for Nhtp again for a little while, doing social media and helping with the website. And I wrote a couple plays for the junior rep program as well. So.
Yes, which got published.
Yes.
I just got another one. Another one was out of the blue. He published another one of my plays. So, yeah, so two of, and I think, Monique, you were in one of Jess's plays, Well-Behaved Women, which we did for Strawberry Bank.
Oh, it's you. Oh, it's so nice to meet you.
So we're kind of talking about, well, we got sidetracked. We got into the process, but I wanted to, I'm going to catch up with Josh a little bit, and then we'll come back, Jess, and tell us, what you've been up to.
Sure.
But Josh, you just graduated, and he just did an amazing project. So why don't you tell everybody what you've been up to?
Yes, yeah. So in my final term, I just graduated from Bennington College. I was working on 2 advanced works, both of them very theater related, but one of them was specifically drama focused and the other one was music focused. And so the one that I think you're talking about, Jen, is the one that I just put up on YouTube to share with the world, which was kind of a collection of original musical theater songs that I've written over the past 6 years or something like that. There's one song from an Oz story, which I wrote for NHGP years ago. And it was completely filmed with costumes and lights, but in the world of COVID. So I rehearsed with my actors with masks, and then they performed it either alone on the set or to music stands. So that was a real kind of adventure and a new kind of art making, but putting it then back into a form that looks like a very familiar form of art. But it was a lot of fun to work on. Yeah. And then the other piece that I did was a show that one of my peers had written called Salt Off a Bird's Tail, which is it's a story about a Jewish family and a pocket Torah getting passed down through generations. And we performed that outside in the final weeks of the term. So that was another completely new experience. We can't perform inside without masks, so we're going outside. So yeah, a lot of new things that I've been trying out.
I think my favorite was the love song, Socially Distanced. That was pretty funny. Yeah, but Josh is also, he's working with Upside Arts, and they're running a camp. They're renting the New Hampshire Theater Project space this summer. So there will be a drama camp going on there. And you're waiting to hear about Emerson for graduate school. Yes. So Jess, tell us what you've been up to in the intervening years. And the other thing we were talking about is sort of what we carried from our experiences at NHTP and not necessarily, what we learned, but how does the process of the things and the work that we did or do carry out into the world and your current life?
Sure. So currently I work primarily in mental health research. So I've been doing that for 4 or 5 years now. And, I think the communication skills that I developed on the stage and learning how to relate to people and talk to people and understand other people's perspectives has been really useful for the work that I do. And I think for work that anyone can get involved in.
That's pretty wonderful. And are you still writing?
Occasionally. I don't have a specific project that I'm working on right now. So, I do much better when I have a deadline for a project. So, I'm sure something more people than I can relate to. So, yeah.
Absolutely.
Yep.
So, one of the things that, I've been thinking about, there's a line, I think you say it, Monique, it was a quote from Colleen, it's an uncertainty principle, where she says, this whole COVID time is a cocoon. And it'll be interesting to see what comes out of the cocoon. And especially in the creative sense. So I'm just curious, I would love to hear, in your artistic capacity, but also in your work capacity. I know there's a lot of craziness going on, and we all hear about how nobody communicates with each other and things are terrible and things are hard. But I also think there's some blessings that have come out of this and will continue to. And part of our job as artists is to keep attention focused on that so we don't slide backwards. So I would love to hear, what you personally learned from COVID and from this time, and how it's changed what you're doing with yourself. I don't know, Hannah, maybe if you don't mind me putting you on the spot, because
Sure.
you're in the education world, and I mean, that's just been so hard hit by this. Every school, every teacher, every administrator has had to scramble.
Yeah, it's been a crazy, crazy year. I think when it all started, I was really hopeful that it would be an opportunity to recreate what sometimes feels like a very archaic system of educating our kids. And I don't think it's going to happen. I don't think there's going to be a crazy change right now, at least. It was rumored like, wow, kids are doing better. We changed the hours. It was later. They woke up later, even very small things. And I was disappointed to find out that we're back to the 7:20 a.m. Time schedule. So I think I'm curious, people who, how do I say this? The changes that are going to occur in workplaces, I think, will happen when the leaders are the age of people who really, really understand technology and how to use it. And unfortunately, the superintendent is just a little bit past that, and she had us coming into the building, even without students, just to Zoom from the school building rather than our own homes, which there was a lot of pushback, and finally we were able to leave. So I think it's going to take a while, but it might be a trickle starting with, I don't know, I think they're calling them the Zoomers, that generation, because they sort of understand better how to integrate technology. But personally, I think I both learned how to be alone and also the importance of being with people, both of those things, and especially with people that I like and love and care about. And this going back to work is really, it's been upsetting. It's like, oh, great, we've talked about how important our loved ones are. Now go spend 9 hours a day without them, and be isolated in an office. And so I know that's not what I want to do. And so I'm trying to find a creative escape, whether it's consulting or starting my own future school, that we can really do. I have this big thing on authentic learning experiences. It's my passion project right now. So I really believe in it still, and I'm holding on to it, even if the powers that be are not quite ready to make the change.
Do you think that there is going to be an exodus I know in my generation, there's a mass exodus of people retiring sooner than maybe they planned, no matter what they're in, but particularly in education. But do you think there will be a big change? And
I think the people that hung on through this year will stay another year to get back to normalcy, because they're like, well, if I survive that, I can put in another couple of years, and then they'll leave because they're exhausted. So I don't think we're not seeing huge turnover rates this year. People finally want some stability and something constant. But perhaps in the future there will be. So I'd say maybe in a few years.
interesting.
Well, Robin Fowler just gave you 3 dab emojis in the chat.
Thanks, Robin.
He's the only one watching right now. So.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, Robin's one of our alumni. Is you? Oh, let's see, Jess, were you in Robin's era, or was he before you?
He was just slightly before me. I was in junior rep. I think
When he
the last year he was in senior rep, but I have worked with him a number of times. So
so he just got a job as the assistant company manager at Algonquin Playhouse. So pretty cool.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah. So Monique, along with being a great actor, why do you always jump when I say your name? I'm like, I feel so bad. I'll say it slowly.
I wasn't ready. I'm like so cozy listening to everyone's story and thinking how cool Hannah is and how she's going to change the world. And I'm so excited about it.
That's sweet.
But, well, I was just going to say, so along with being an actor, you also work at a home for seniors. Do you think this is going to change anything there?
I think it's already changed so much. So I work with folks every day, anywhere from 80 to 101 or more. And what we had to, so many times during this sort of journey, we had to like sequester them in their apartments all day long for like weeks. And I mean, isolation is, we all just did it for a year and a half, but for these folks, it was really incredible. The toll it took was unbelievable. So, you talk about sort of this cocoon and sort of coming out of it. And I think right now, we're out, we're all vaccinated. We were some of the first people to be vaccinated. In fact, we were the first people to be vaccinated. So now just being together, just the fact that we can come to a room and like look at each other and talk to each other is just, it like blows us away. And I think we're just so grateful for that. I think right now, and you can feel that every day, just like grateful to commune together. But I'll tell you, Hannah, talking about technology, my residents are, they're Zooming and FaceTiming and going on virtual tours to Paris. And this is not stuff we did on a daily basis prior to this pandemic. So it has changed our days for the better, in lots of great ways like that. So it's been really cool. And they've embraced technology like you can't believe. They get it. They just have to learn it like everything else, So it's been a heck of a journey, but a lot of really neat things coming out of it.
How about the mental health field, Jess? You said you were doing research that I've been interviewing some folks from the Seacoast Mental Health Center as part of another project. And they seem to feel that we're really heading into some mental health crises from this.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, one of the primary things that the organization I work with does is they help people with serious mental illness get regular jobs in the community. But we've also been talking about through the pandemic with the number of people that were laid off and out of work, that, the service that we provide could really help people who don't have serious mental illness, who may just have, a more common mental illness like depression or anxiety, for a lot of people, work is such an important part of their identity. And, one of the things we do is try to use work as a tool in their recovery and not say, you have to be well before you can work, because work gives people a direction and it gives them something to look forward to. That's that's something I'm sure we all know, having worked in the arts, that it's, it's a passion. And even for people outside the arts, they love what they do, and not being able to do it can have a serious impact on mental health. So I think it's going to be, a long road ahead where there's a lot of displaced people. But, I'm hopeful that more people will see the importance of mental health care, and of being able to feel important in their own lives. So
That's great. I'm going to ask CJ, because aside from your role as associate producer of media for New Hampshire Theater Project, but you do a lot of different things as an artist. You're a professional musician. You work a lot with power play. What was it like to suddenly lose all that work as an artist?
It was completely overwhelming, I just went into a freeze last year. And, as people in the arts industry are wont to do, we figure out a way to claw through that. Not in spite of, because of it, there's always some kind of path forward. At least that's the way I chose to think about it. It just looked different. Yeah. I lost tens of thousands of dollars worth of work overnight, last year. So it was just a matter of, I think, staying open to what that's going to look like now, But.
Yeah, it was scary. I didn't realize how bad it was until I did my taxes. How have I lived? I have no idea.
I got money back for the first time in like 15 years. It's
Yeah.
great. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Jen, I guess I'm the odd man out here, but I found this to be one of the most productive years of my last 30 years. On a personal basis, my wife and I discovered we really enjoyed each other's company, because we were stuck inside of a fairly small house. One of my sons is a lawyer, and he has a law office, and another son works for him, and they couldn't keep the second son on, so they made him into their, what do you call it, child care guy. Well, he's that particular son has a degree in education and is an ex-combat medic, and so and he adores and kids, and all three of these kids that he was, whatever, I don't know what you call that, but anyway, whatever he was doing with them wasn't babysitting. They're all three now well above grade level. They read far more than any children of their ages, and they're very young, than I know. And so they've done extraordinarily well. And I found myself getting involved with education on the side. I belong to something called NHSPA, which is just a group of 130 photographers all through New Hampshire. And one of the problems with the group is that it doesn't communicate well. Photographers aren't generally articulate. They're kind of voyeurs, but they don't engage a lot. And one of the problems that we've had is in New Hampshire. New Hampshire is a very hard place to get around if you don't live east or west. And a bunch of the members live up north. They live wonderful lives, but they never get involved. So we started a Zoom educational function, which I've been running, and we have famous and accomplished photographers from all over the world. A French street photographer who is very articulate in why she shoots and how she shoots, in Paris, of course. A fellow who does a lot of work on the border with people who are involved with crossing the border illegally, and he's a documentary photographer, and he's joined us to talk about what that process is like and how important it is to not take a picture, but to find the story and let your photography tell that story, whatever that story is. So it's been a wonderfully different year for me, and I'm delighted it's over, but it's also been a lot of growth, and solo stage certainly helped that part.
Well, that's pretty wonderful to hear. So we have about 10 minutes left, and I'm going to totally shift gears for a minute because I have all of you here, and you represent sort of different times of New Hampshire Theater Project, different stages and iterations. So for the first 10 years or so of our existence, we were a touring company. There were several different shows, and we toured mostly to schools. We did a lot of artist in residence work. That's how Blair and I worked at schools all over the state. And then we, when we moved to West, what was then West, we started producing shows, and the Youth Repertory Company, which had been in existence for several years, we performed at the Music Hall, among other places, really grew and flowered. And then in the past 5 or 6 years, we've really shifted again. Things have kind of changed with the Youth Rep Company. Kind of had it came to a close in a way, but there are other things happening. In fact, most of the alumni have come back and you all work for us in different ways, which is pretty exciting. But we started the whole Elephant in the Room program, community connectors, and really started producing a regular season. And once we took over the space and totally had it to ourselves, we've kind of become a whole different entity. And we've officially changed the name of the building to New Hampshire Theater Project. You guys should see Jess. We painted the lobby and new signs. But every 10 years or so, you know, NHTP reinvents itself. But here's the difference. The next reinvention is probably not going to be under my guidance. What's happened for me during COVID, along with the fact that I've, you know, taken care of my mom, is that I've realized that I want to spend a little more time on my own art. And I'd love to stay connected with NHTP, but I feel that it's time for new blood, you know, new energy. Don't know, you know, I'm not like going anywhere tomorrow, but I'm in that process, and the board is talking about that, and we're talking about it. So one of the things that one of the board members posed to all of us is, what is the one aspect of NHTP that is the most important thing to you, to the community, that we need to think about and stay focused on? And that is a tough question. I could never narrow it down to one. But I'd be curious how each of you would answer that question. And they might be completely different given your experiences.
Keeping it open as a way for artists, performers, writers, etc., to be able to continue to express their work. There's a lot of things that are kind of hard to really break into. This is one of them. Acting can get a little precarious. So having a way for artists to put themselves out there, I think is fantastic.
Safe space, yes. Thank you, Matt.
Sort of along those lines of the safe space, I think just the sense of community that New Hampshire Theater Project has. You know, I've worked with a bunch of different organizations, worked with a lot of different groups. And I think one thing that New Hampshire Theater Project does really well in all the ways I've been there is that, you know, it feels like a family. It's, you know, people that I met there are still some of the most important people in my life. And I think just seeing people around at New Hampshire Theater Project who've stuck around for years, and that it's something special, that it's built this community of artists, it's built this community of educators. I think that's what stands out most to me.
That's such a great point, Jess. I'm glad you said that, because so many of the alumni, if they haven't gone into professional theater in some way, they've gone into education in some way, whether that be, in the corporate world, educating customers, or, in the academic world. Anybody else want to jump in?
Hard to narrow it to one.
I know.
I think the word that comes to mind is accessibility. I don't know if it's the right word. It's just the word that I have right now. And what I mean by that is, I think now that I live in Boston, I find it very hard to do theater. And the way that I know how is like signing up for a 6-week class, but at the end of 6 weeks, it's over and I'm a few $100s poorer, and I've met a couple people, but like, that's kind of it. And the level of commitment in order to be involved in theater is one that I can't maintain with my work, life balance here in Boston or Cambridge. But with NHTP, from a young age, I got to try a lot of different things. So like, Megan Beauchamp was teaching me all about lighting, and I got to run light boards, and then I got to do costuming, and I just got to try things. It was easy to enter, I guess. And I really appreciated that. And it was like a warm and inviting environment where you could experiment and take risks, but all while balancing another, part of your life. It didn't have to be 100% of what you did. It could be part of what fulfilled you.
Yes. Yeah, you got to do costumes with Michelle McAdave. She was quite the master, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
For me, Jen, I think, it's so many things, but it's really this right now. It's the conversation. It's the conversation, right? It's taking it apart and diving in and talking about, whether it's the theater, the art itself, the process, or whether it's a bigger conversation for the community, like the Elephant in the Room series creates, but it's all about the conversation.
Somebody, I can't remember who it was, said that the thing they loved about New Hampshire Theater Project is that we were so introspective. We were constantly challenging ourselves and having conversations. You just set that up. Huh.
This kind of goes back to what Jess was saying a little bit about community. And it's also something I've been thinking about in this past year, but the seeds were definitely planted at NHTP, which is caring for and taking care of each other and ourselves, and learning how to do that. It was a huge part of that process. Even Jen just saying, Josh, just say no to more things. You're doing too many things. Take care of yourself. And as important as the art is, putting the artist before the art almost, I think is a really special thing that NHTP does.
Yeah. And I think this is kind of what everyone has said, but I think it's like a deliberate commitment to being thoughtful and intentional and purposeful. Yeah, with everything that's done and like all the decisions that are made sort of along the way.
Yeah. Dan, you got to add anything to add?
This whole question of access, I was just looking at a list of the groups I have worked with over here on the right, from symphonies to jazz groups to a wonderful group out of New York called Nori that Jen knows about. New Hampshire Theater Project has been the one group of people that has been totally welcoming. And so, while that's wonderful for me and has helped produce some of the best photography and imagery that I've ever done. It also helps the theater revitalize itself. So that openness to artists of any type is, I think, key to its not only survival, but its flourishing in the future.
So you just brought it round full circle to what Matt said.
Yeah.
Don't make me look insightful. Don't. Please don't.
Well, thank you. Yes, I'm pretty, I feel so grateful for the gift that I've been able my whole life to do what I dreamed of and to have so many amazing people with me on this journey. So I'm excited about the future. And as I said, I don't want to go away. I just would like to, I think for me, the pause was not working 80 hours a week and realizing, oh, I could actually have a life. So, well, I see we're at 9 o'clock. Thank you all so much for joining us tonight. This was great. So we'll record this. It'll be on YouTube, and you can invite people to watch it. But I'm deeply grateful for you taking the time to come and to see so many faces. Hannah and Jess, I haven't seen you in a long time. Matt, I've only seen you at Staples.
Yeah, I helped you get a pen for your mother, if I remember right.
Yes. Oh, and I should tell you that she's in love with that pen. After telling me that wasn't what she wanted, she now will only use those pens. So.
Oh, that's great to hear, actually.
Something off camera happening here. It
So,
was a delight to see and hear everyone. Thank you very much.
So thank you. And CJ, thanks for hosting everything. And I hope I'll see you all again soon. You can encourage your friends and family to give to New Hampshire Gives, NHTP through 5 o'clock tomorrow. And I really appreciate it. What a wonderful talk. Thank you so much.